Yeah, this is
Yeah,
a good
to
time
talk
to do
about
it.
new
Right.
engines.
Okay, if the rod came out, we need a new block.
Right.
Because there's going to be a little hole up there. So sometimes, if say if we won an event and we were a few bucks ahead, we would go and buy an extra engine, just a junkyard. And it was by this time it's the ones that the dead end kids were sending out from New York.
Right.
And Milodon was the retailer, the agent for these things, right? So we go over to see the Dooner, which was the nickname for Don Alderson. So we go see the Dooner, and so we had enough money to buy two of them, and I think they were $200 a piece at the time. So we somehow had $400. And whenever we had that money, we always, what do we need the most? You know, so we always tried to have an extra block and crank in stock, tucked away in the extra garage we had. And because when this happened, you got to.
Yeah.
You're done until you can get another one.
Right.
Well, you got to come up with a lot of other stuff too.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
so we go over to buy a couple of these engines from the Dooner, and we usually go at night or late in the afternoon, because after Skinner gets off work or whatever, and I'm done with my school and my part-time job's over, we go out there. So we show up at the Dooners, and at the time Skinner had this Citroen 2CV. It looks like it came something in a shredded wheat box, and you folded it and made it car.
Yeah. Good job. That's a good explanation.
It had two cylinders,
2 cylinders.
two-cylinder engine, and the advertised horsepower was 11 horsepower.
11.
But only one cylinder worked, so we had, say, 5.5, right?
Yeah. Continue.
It was a classic piece. I mean, they're just beautiful.
Well, and how did he find it? How did he find this car?
We were just driving down the street one day, and Skinner was always on the prowl for a new
Something.
odd
Something off the wall. Yeah.
Yeah, he loved. And we're going down the street, and it's about 3 blocks from where I live today. We're going down the street. Skinner spies this thing with for sale signs laying on the curb, right? He says, "Stop, stop." We go over there and we look at this thing, and he says, "How much money have you guys got?" And I don't know, several of us in the car. And there were no credit cards. I mean, whatever money you owned was always in your pocket. That's right.
That's the way it was.
That's the way it was.
$3 or $4.
Yeah, right.
So
Yes.
everybody reaches in their pockets, and between us all, we had whatever the $300 or whatever this thing costs, right? Skinner goes up to the door, guy signs the pink, comes back, and we all hop in this thing, and down the road we go, right? And this thing is a classic. It's a front-wheel drive, and when you turn the wheels, it didn't have constant velocity joints, so it was like riding a horse. Until you straighten the wheels up, right? And the speedometer was, the windshield wipers were hooked to the speedometer cable. So if you were going 0 miles an hour, your windshield wipers were going 0
miles an hour.
0 miles an hour, right? And the faster you went, the more they worked.
Yeah, right, okay.
And
Like a
The
vacuum
seats were
system.
slings.
Hard science.
yeah, the
Slings
seats
on
were
the frame.
a little metal tubing thing with rubber bands that the fabric hooked onto, and you could take them out and have a picnic.
Yeah.
And the floor was dead flat. It was a front wheel drive, and then it had a sunroofs, so from the top of the windshield to the rear bumper disappeared, and you could haul an upright piano in this thing, right? And the French, they've been making these things for years, and they had all these classic ads for these things.
Oh,
You'd see it with an upright piano.
Yeah, yeah.
Or having the picnic, they take the seats out, and they've got the basket and the wine. And
Amazing.
Anyway, so off we go. We're heading to see the Dooner. And they had just opened the 405 into the San Fernando Valley. And down the hill we go. And of course, it went great downhill.
Yeah.
Uphill was a little bit more of a problem. And it had a low gear that was good for about maybe 5 miles an hour on the map. And so we got our one cylinder going, and it had a big chunk out of the exhaust valve, which is why the other cylinder didn't work. And so anyway, we get over to the Dooners, and we walk in proudly, and okay, Dooner, we'd like to buy 2 of those blocks, So okay, And the Dooner, he didn't want you taking all the stuff off and leaving it, because nobody wanted the
Water pumps.
Yeah.
water pump
Yeah.
and the,
Push rods.
sometimes not even the cylinder heads or the rocker arms and rocker arms, all that stuff just trash. You know?
Right.
But the Dooner wanted to make sure you took it with you because he didn't want to end up with a pile of trash, right?
Right.
Well, the Dooner was busy in his shop making some parts, the machine shop, right? And so he's in there making his parts. So we told him, well, we got to take it apart so we can get it in our car, which was sort of normal. And we're hiding, you know, the parts behind the other stuff.
Dumpsters.
You know, wherever we
Yeah.
can hide the parts so he won't
Right.
catch us.
Sure.
And the Dooner's a big guy. He's about, what is it,
6'9".
6'9",
Yeah.
Holy.
300
6'9", 300 pounds.
Oh
300.
man.
and strong. Oh my God, he's
That was
strong.
Mr. Dooner to you
Yeah,
guys.
you don't want to. You don't want to piss him off.
And a classic human being. Just a great guy. So anyway, we get the parts we want. We get the stuff loaded up. We kind of cover it up, throw some trash on it. So he can't quite figure out that we haven't taken it all. So he comes out, and we were trying to get away without him seeing us leave, you know, and say we didn't want to bother you or something, so he didn't catch us. Because you're not going to argue with the Dooner about if he says
Anything.
you're taking something, you're taking it.
Right.
So the Dooner comes out just as we get in the car. We got the motor running. We're just about ready to pull out, and he pulls out, and he hadn't seen the car yet, right? This fold-up Citroen 2CV. And the Dooner, he just starts laughing, and he can't even. He's just this
course
car
he
just
was.
cracks him up because he's never seen this one before, right? And he walks over and he grabs the right rear corner of the 2CV, and he picks it right up off the ground. And we're in it. I mean, it's like this with these two engines
And two
loose.
Chryslers.
Yeah, blocks and heads, and you know, it was like this, and stuff sliding around. And we figured we're going over. You know? And the Dooner lets it back down, and he laughs. And he we give him a little quick tour of the thing, and that got his eye off of looking at how much crap we had taken with us. Right?
Yeah. Right.
And we just, off we go, right? So we're going to go back over the hill to Santa Monica.
Right.
Well, there's this big grade coming out of the valley on the 405.
Right.
We get to that grade and keep going down lower gear, lower gear. Pretty soon we're in low gear, and it's on the map.
On the
Skinner's
405 freeway.
405,
All 5 horsepower doing their best.
over in the parking lane. Skinner's got her on the map, and it's going to stop. So I jump out, and I start pushing. Because it's not one grade. It kind of changes a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I get out and start pushing, and then we get to a spot where it would kind of hold its own, right? And I jump on, open the door, and just kind of jump on the edge of the door. Then when we get to the next, I get out, push some more, and we just barely got over the top of the hill. You know? So we're going. Then once we're going downhill, man, clear sailing, right? And I think Skinner's he had this red table napkin from the Italian restaurant.
Uh-huh.
He had this whole Pierre deal that he would do.
Pierre deal.
And he puts it around his neck and he ties it, and he had some kind of a little beret because he had been in France, Germany, and stuff just before we started building our car in '62.
Oh my God.
And so Skinner, I think he had his own red thing on him, his beret. Anyway, we just down to the Red Apple because it was all downhill from there. Slide up. Here we are. Got our motors.
Top fuel team.
Top
Top
fuel
fuel
team.
Oh my
Life is
God.
good.
And
Yeah,
then he wanted to rebuild the engine.
Oh
Right.
yeah, he wanted to rebuild the engine, and in Europe he had seen people rebuild these things on the street, you know, just on the,
Side of the road.
you know,
Whatever was convenient.
because you know you could pick up the motor easily with 2 guys. 1 guy if he was strong. 2 guys was easy. You just pick it up, and so before he ever bought this thing, he's telling me about the 2CV, the douchable, right? Ah, the douchable. And all the extolling the virtues of this thing, right? And so, but one of them was that he had seen in Europe, he saw people, they just rebuild them on the street, no big deal, right? And so he says, boy, that'd be great, you know. And this is before he ever owned one. So once he owns it, he says, we got to do it like they do it in Paris, right? And so There was a Peugeot dealer in Beverly Hills. God, we're way off topic, aren't we?
Yeah, well.
It's okay.
All right.
Finish the story. Finish the
Anyway,
story.
Really?
There was a great Peugeot dealer in Beverly Hills, in the Gucci part of where the car dealers were, and they had every part for that thing, down to the minute little doodads. I don't know if Peugeot made them carry this stuff or what, but there weren't very many 2CVs around. And so, anyway, we just picked the motor up, blew it apart, and figured out what was what. Off to Piston Supply in LA, and go down to the Peugeot dealer in Beverly Hills, get a couple bags of parts, and you get a whole bag of parts for about $5.
Wow.
One time the shift linkage, it was a goofy shift linkage, a rod went right through the dash, came out and bent, and had a knob on it. It went like this.
Yeah.
That's how you shifted. And it went through, and there was some little funny linkage, and it hooked to the top of the transmission, right? And all of that stuff was junk. It was all worn out and beat up.
Oh, yeah.
We went down to the Peugeot dealer, and we replaced the whole shift linkage doodads, the little pieces, for like $4, you know? Even then, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
But anyway, we did that with the whole motor. And the Peugeot, it didn't have, there weren't belts that went out and drove a generator. The generator was right on the end of the crankshaft. So you look through the grill of one of those things, and you see that's the end of the crank spinning, right?
Oh.
And it's,
Wow. Yeah.
anyway, we had a lot of fun with that thing.